So how long have you been here on this land?
Off and on for 10 years. Sometimes I spend 3 or 4 months here. Sometimes it's only a month. I don't think I've ever been here for more than maybe 6 months at a time. Earlier in those 10 years, I was running a business and raising children, and kind of funding different things. And later, more recently, we've been going on like missions, kind of outreach to other communities or projects, doing mutual aid kind of stuff.
And that includes the People's Project?
Yeah, with the People's Project. I helped found the People's Project like maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
This place specifically had a very clear goal, and that was to enable and empower as many people as possible, as fast as possible, to no longer need money. I personally don't like how things look and feel as far as cities and towns and the pollution. And I also don't particularly like the way people interact with each other. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of separation and a lot of competition. People competing against each other or using each other, which is even worse. In my opinion, capitalism is based off of how much you can capitalize off another person, which is essentially using them. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a much better way would be to collaborate, But yeah, in the beginning, it was to enable and empower people to move away from money.
The farther we carve these channels into society, the farther away we get from our nature, and the worse we end up harming ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what all do you grow out here?
As much as possible. I'm really into the perennials. I like trees and really getting into like blueberries, leaning more towards like more native stuff like persimmons and muscadines and blueberries and mulberries, that kind of stuff. We grow everything, basically everything that we can grow here that I am aware of. I mean, there's a few things that we aren't growing yet, but we have nut trees and all peaches and apples and pears. We have all the normal crops of sweet potatoes and squash and winter squash, and we have lots of herbs and medicinal and edible herbs. Yeah, and we do a good bit of wild foraging too. I'm very familiar with the native plants here, and a large amount of them you can eat. Mm-hmm. A lot of this stuff just right around here that's wild you can eat, and it's pretty good and good for you.
Yeah. A big issue that I see people wanting to do similar things are running into is space. So is this land owned by a lot of people, owned by one person? Was it a collaborative effort? Do you have to keep paying taxes on the land?
The land is technically owned by 3 people. One of those people is me. I don't believe that humans have a right to own a section of the earth, especially to keep it away from other humans.
Right.
That doesn't really make sense to me. I believe that the earth is for all humans and all life to share, and that when we try to keep it away from each other, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's 20 acres, and we pay $83 a year on taxes.
Is there a revenue source that the garden has made from the stuff that it grows, or how do people tend to support themselves?
Different people support themselves in different ways. The garden, we have sold things at farmers markets and stuff, but we've never been reliant on that. Mainly we minimize costs, and people, actually in the very beginning we would go fly signs and do busking, performing in Nashville and stuff like that, and that's humble beginnings before, when we were out here with no vehicles or anything. When you get 40 people together, collectively, you can usually come up with enough resources to move forward and sustain, especially when you're minimizing expenses,
What kind of roadblocks or obstacles have y'all had to overcome or that you didn't expect that stood in the way of the vision that's finding its way to fruition out here?
For me, the very first one was when when this idea first popped into my head and then started moving forward on it, I had this vision of like we'd get the land, we'd put it out there on the internet and let people know what we were planning on doing or what we were doing, and that people would flock to it and be very excited about it because it's the obvious best thing to do.
Like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. In the reality, when we put it out there, we attracted a lot of people that were addicts in different ways, or just like looking for anywhere to go for free stay, and not very many people believed in the vision or were interested in the vision. It was more of like they thought it was like a pipe dream kind of thing. They didn't really believe in it. Things didn't really start being productive here until like there was like more than one person working on the vision,
And once results start showing, it kind of compounds on itself. No. How do y'all operate with visitors and residents? Are there bylaws? Are there community rules that are mutually understood?
Yes. In the beginning, there was no rules. The very first rule was no violence. So basically, we made the rules as the problems arose through consensus. A big principle of this land is that no one person here is in charge. We're all equals. Even people that have just got here are equals. And throughout the last 11 years, or 10 or 11 years, we've accumulated a handful of guidelines and some bylaws. But they're all subject to change. The only thing that doesn't change is the mission statement. And that's like the guiding document that keeps everything on track in a, good direction.
How many people can you accommodate? And are you trying to facilitate more? Do you have plans for growth?
Yeah, I would like to see tens of thousands, millions of people living in small communities all over the world in a network of mutual aid and shared land. So yeah, right now what we've accommodated before, we've had 60 people here for 2 months. And it was a strain on our water system and our outhouse, our composting outhouse, were the two like weak points. Since then, we've upgraded both those things. We could probably handle like 80 people for 2 months and probably 60 people indefinitely.
Which is relative to most communities, still a really decent high number.
Yeah, and we've had up to maybe 100 people here for a couple weeks, and we handled that. So it's not easy. As the years go by, certain individuals get more familiar with the goings on, and then as new people come, there's more people to help direct, and that helps a whole lot. One of the things that I've seen is these communities pop up and then die, and it's because people give up too soon. There's not a perfect design that fits. This is something that people have to just try and try and try and try, and as you try, and as the years go on, it does get easier. And it's very important to not give up. 5 years into this project, it was still very difficult, and the 6th year, things started moving, really in a nice way. So it took 5 years of struggle before things started moving.
Good footing.
But I believe that 5 years was absolutely necessary, and there was no other way to go about it, because there's a learning process, and you can't read these things in a book. You have to experience them.
From the communities that you have been visiting and trying to assist, what do you see as the most common issues they are running into?
I'm not going to criticize other communities. They're all finding their way in their own way. But what I would really like to see more communities do is open themselves up more to more new people, because I believe that there's a need for people to experience this kind of lifestyle. And there is a lot of communities, but as far as I know, we are one of only a few in the United States where people can just go to. And other places are, a little standoffish of just opening their doors like that, for, real reasons, but all the same.
They're keeping the good hands out too.
Right. Yeah. A lot of communities, like if you look at the IC.org, for example, and we have the book too. And if you look through the book, there's thousands of communities, but they don't ever lots of them don't ever make it. Like So what I'm getting at is hundreds, if not thousands, of intentional communities fail. And the reason, I have two thoughts on why, and that's one is because it implodes. All the attention is on itself. If it was connected to a network of communities, then the attention of the community could be outside of itself, and this would help it flourish. People living in close proximity will end up there will be tension. If there's a way for people to get away from that tension without leaving the movement, that's going to help all the communities. So for every community that we network with, it helps this community, like, a lot. So when we go out and we network and help other communities, we are helping this community also. Like, just by creating those connections and having places where, awesome people here might not be getting along with people here, and they can go and they can feel good about it. They can kind of let go,
What else are you trying to do on this land to improve things for everyone or accommodate more people?
The next big project is the new community cabin, and that's going to help a lot because it's going to provide a communal winter space. Right now we have maybe 10 individual spaces with their own wood-burning stoves. We burn a ridiculous amount of wood this way.
Yeah.
And also, I think not having a big enough communal space in the wintertime creates division in the community. People don't hang out enough. There's this thing where if people don't do things that are directly benefiting each other, then they start not having a lot of appreciation for each other, which then leads to them picking apart the things that they don't like about each other. If you keep the level of appreciation up, then the little things don't bother people so much. And so by having a big communal space where people can interact with each other in a positive way, they can, maintain that level of appreciation that helps them, oversee the little things that they don't like.
It seems like the pandemic has made this lifestyle a lot more attractive to people.
Yeah.
Everybody's finances are getting squeezed. Everybody's savings are getting depleted from having to continue to pay bills when they're not working. The supply chain has been getting depleted, and I notice a lot of places that make most of their business harvesting and selling seeds have been so depleted that it's going to take a decent amount of time for them to replenish their stock. Have you noticed any of this in your community or other communities? How are people adapting to that?
I'm happy with it. I think it is things are happening in a good way. In the very beginning, I thought that the system would naturally just crumble, and that this would be, if we built this up enough so it was a provable model, like, hey, this can work, regardless of whatever you've been told or read, this can work, then it would be the natural, obvious alternative. And so I'm happy to see that the economies, or the society is like struggling because we need to do something different. And sometimes nothing happens unless it has to happen. As far as like what we've experienced here that's different, life goes on, Besides, we've had a couple people come that like had a lot of fear, and they would get mad about other people not being afraid, and try to like spread the fear as much as possible. And we tried to like calm it down, like, hey, everything's okay, and they got just more and more angry about it, and we ended up having to ask one person to leave. That, and then we've had there seems to be an increase of interest, like you've said. Like in the past, we've done a lot of like advertising for this place because we want to be loud and let everyone know that this exists. But since the coronavirus happened, we've not, because we don't want to be ridiculed for being in community and being close to each other and not practicing social distancing. We've not advertised at all, and the amount of people that are interested and reaching out is maybe even increased, so that's interesting. Yeah, it's exciting, and as far as I can tell, I know of at least a couple other communities that are flourishing now more so than other times. It seems like maybe this is made people get like a little bit more serious. Like it was a fun idea, it was like they were thinking about it, but now it's like, let's start acting on it, and that's good.
To accommodate more people, are you primarily looking for people to bring converted vehicles that they live in? What types of methods are you looking at using to build?
I would like to have a lot of different examples of different building techniques, adobe and straw bale, and I'm big on using recycled materials. I like all those thoughts. This community is a mission. We're like an action. We're not like an intentional community where we're all just gonna live happy and sustainably for the rest of our lives here. And that's not the mission of this place. The mission of this place is to do it so we can practice it, show it so people can learn about it, and then spread it and create other places where people can also do it. So this is more like a hub of activity. Most years we have over 300 visitors in a year. Because of that hub of activity, it's a special type of person that would want to live here longer term. The community cabin, we want to build more structures. We want to make the structures we have nicer. There's a lot of structures have bunks, so we encourage people to bunk up unless they have children or couples, But we encourage people to share spaces, and that way we can accommodate more. Everything from tent camping to teepees to yurts, or I'm into it all. But some people come out here with the wrong idea and they're like, where can I build my house? And it's not like that.
Right. That's a really cool differentiation as compared to most communities that I've come across. Is they are all about focalizing their efforts on that community. Mm-hmm. But this is seemingly about setting a bigger example for the world as to what is possible and helping share that.
Which I actually believe is key to success. Because when you are all about building up the community, then all the focus is in on itself. Mm-hmm. And eventually, it's only a matter of time if you have 10, 20 people, that there's going to be disagreements on how that goes about. And if the focus is outside, then this is all this is secondary. All the stuff we do here is kind of secondary. Really, it's more important of what we do out. So it's easier to let go. It's easier to let people learn through mistakes and stuff like that, because that's what this place facilitates.
There's a lot of people that want to commit their hands to helping build places like this, that have the free time to do it, but lack the space or the material resources. Are there ways that you have found people are discovering to overcome those things?
My best advice for overcoming those things is go live in a community first, because there's some simple things that a lot of people just don't understand about what is actually going on, and it's kind of hard to explain. But for example, someone reached out to me and was like, I want to do the same thing that you got going there. I want to build this intentional community. I'm like, right on. Well, do you have an mission statement or an idea of what it would be about? And he's like, well, it's this many acres, and I want to set aside 10 for my family, and then the rest will be the community land. And right there, it's a misunderstanding of how this works. That's never going to work. It's not going to work. And basically people have to get away from the do it for me and instead do it for everyone. And otherwise it's just not going to work. Their intentions will get in the way of what they want to accomplish. What's that word where people do things for others?
Selflessness?
Yeah, well, kind of. It's
altruism.
Altruism, yeah. So intentional communities work if the people that are trying to make it work are doing it in an altruistic way and not in a selfish way. Otherwise, I don't think they really work. All the existing older communities I know of were started by altruistic people. You have to mean it. You can't fake it. You can't be like, let's all live together and share, but this is mine. There's some really deep psychological stuff that we have to break through before it works. And that's why before people should go out and try to start their own, they should go and live in an existing operating one, so they can kind of get a feel for how it feels.
To the people out there that are looking to get involved, become more knowledgeable in this lifestyle, whether it's to dip their toe or jump head first, what would you tell them?
Come here. come here. This is one of the more open, and it's a portal. There's some books like Change Here Now is a good one. And they can like start to lead you in a certain direction. Come experience community.
Here's your
Like,
sign.
I wish there was more places where people could do that. The garden is wide open. Anyone's welcome to come here. We strive to be a place where people can come to experience. No one's here as a particular teacher. The place is the teacher, Just come and be. I've been talking about like creating like some kind of zine or something to get out there that's like step by step. If you're in this situation, you can do this. If you're in this situation, do this. But mainly, like, stop what they're doing. Like, traveling is a good first step. Just like letting go of material possessions enough that you can travel lightly and freely. That's a good first step for people a lot of times. Think of what you would like the world to be and seek how to find that. If you seek something, you'll find it, There's traveling groups. People, the People's Project is a organized traveling group. There's less organized traveling groups too. There's or also the altruistic
Kitchen Relief?
Kitchen Relief.
Or Relief Kitchen, I'm sorry, with Lucy Lorax?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are also really good portals into community functioning life. Community works best when we're working together because, again, you build appreciation for each other. My advice would be go out. Leave your apartment, house, job, responsibilities, let go of material possessions, and go find your tribe, go find others, go seek. I believe there's probably tens of thousands, if not millions of people working in this direction. We're all at different levels. As long as your intentions are there, you will find it.
Anything additional that you would like to say?
Things are good.
Pretty good thing to say.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the input, and I'm sure everybody else will too. Very cool.